Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Kashif Booth podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, and what's next for them. Today's guest is Mischa Christie again.
Thank you for having me so much. Thank you for having me, Kashif. It's nice to be here again.
Welcome back for another episode, another collab. I feel like we're going to do a lot more collabs. I think,
it's a nice vibe.
Yeah. I think also because Mischa's my friend and then he's also creative like me and driven like me. So I just think it kind of makes sense. Yeah. And we have a lot to talk about. Yeah. So I think that's why it's also really good. And and also like somebody dropped out today. So I was like, okay, Mischa, what are you doing? And he was like, sure. I'm like, amazing.
I'm not doing anything. I'm a heathen and it's Sunday. I don't do anything on Sunday. So, yeah.
I love how you can just lie with a straight face. Like, oh my gosh. Please. What? So I know what time you'd be strolling in on Sundays. But anyway, so speaking of Sundays and chilling, most of the time Sundays are the day of rest. That's what it says in the Bible. That's what also people like to say that Sunday is supposed to be. We live in a Protestant country. People don't know that. This is a Protestant country. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. Basically, way back in the day, history buffs, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I remember learning in history class. Basically, the Tudors, like King Henry VIII.
I know those, yeah.
Okay, cool. So King Henry VIII, when he had his first marriage, he was married to, I think her name was Catherine of Aragon. I think that was his first wife. She gave him 2 daughters, but he always wanted a son. So he was like, look, I need to get out of this. I want a son. But because she was Spanish, he couldn't kill her because the Spanish would have been.
I was just going to ask you if he beheaded her.
No, he didn't. She's the only one.
Was that
who...
when the king?
No,
was it 10th? The 10th? There was one that was just like murdering his wives.
Oh, I
can't remember which one.
I don't know.
Continue.
But yeah, and like, so he couldn't kill her because the Spanish would have been like, "Oh, this is what you're doing." They'd have been on site, so he knew. Look, I can't. So basically, back in those days, they were all Catholic, and so in those days, you couldn't really get divorced unless you just didn't get divorced unless someone died. Then obviously the marriage is over. Yeah. So back then, the priest was the head of the church, and so because King Henry VIII couldn't get a divorce, he decided to make himself the head of the church. So that's what made England a Protestant country. So in this country, not you and I, but we believe that the King Charles, because Queen Elizabeth is gone, is the head of the church. So technically, we are a Protestant country. Okay. So I can't remember why I've said that whole spiel, but
because we're saying England is a Protestant country, and you're explaining why,
so people are supposed to rest on Sundays, go to church, whatever. I mean, if you're Seventh-day Adventist,
Saturday then.
Well, no, that's why they go to church on Saturday and Sunday's a day of rest. That's because they believe Sunday is the first day of the week.
Okay. No, I thought that they thought the 7th day was a Saturday, so that's why they had church on Saturday.
So Sunday is the first day of the week to them. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I might be putting out loads of false information, but that's why. So that's why they do it on, because Sunday is the beginning of the week for them. Okay. That's why. Like, my mom's always like that. She was like, next week. I'm like, what are you talking about?
My mom did. I thought it was a British thing because my mom is.
No, it's a black British thing.
I don't know what it is. It's like, she'll be like, she'll say, oh, next, like today would be Sunday, and we're talking about tomorrow, and she'll be like, oh, next week. I'm like, did you mean tomorrow?
Yes. And I think it's just a certain generation.
I don't know what
and because your mom is black British and mine is, that's where we can relate like that, because it's like, what are you doing? So Sunday is the day of rest. And today's episode is going to be all about self-care and your self-care journey and stuff like that. And I've noticed on your TikToks and your Instagram, you've been really talking a lot about self-care. So what is the importance of self-care? Because you did write a book about it. So
I did
yes,
write.
Published author.
I wrote a book.
Look
yeah,
at that.
yeah. But yeah, I did write a book on it. It's called The Self-Care Journey. It's available on Amazon and KDP if you're interested. But yeah, the importance of self-care is, to be honest, you have to look at it like this. No one knows you better than yourself. So basically, it's self-care is important because you're the only one that can introspect to a certain level. Like after a certain level, there's no amount of like visiting the doctor or talking to a therapist sometimes can get to that level that you can get to within yourself. And after that introspection, you're the one who's going to know exactly what you need for whatever aspect of your life, so emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, even, or socially as well. After a certain while, no one else can really kind of get to that nitty-gritty of what you need. So that's involved in self-care. You do some introspection, you see where you need to do some repairing or maintenance, and you just kind of sit down and have a plan. All right, I need this factor or faction of my life is it's in need of some repair, so I'll then look to probably doing this activity or that activity. I've been feeling a bit sad or low energy mentally recently. Let me like do some journaling to like see, maybe, because a lot of people, they do journaling, and what they find is that probably sometimes they're writing and it expresses the feelings better than talking ever could. That's like just one example. So like you sit down and say, I probably need to do some journaling because I've been feeling a low mood lately, or just take a little walk to the park, walk in the park a little bit, sit down, watch the birds, something. So basically that's the importance of self-care. It's essential in repairing and maintaining yourself, because you have to kind of think of yourself as like a vessel, like a vase more specifically, where it's like you have this vase filled with water and you're going out each day, and whether you like it or not, there's some of that water that's being spilled, whether you're just carrying it, whether it's too heavy, and sometimes you just walk and it shake and some water spilled, or you're probably walking on the street, you see it's another vessel empty, you pour some water in that vessel, or just for you need some water from that vessel. So eventually what you're going to find is that vessel is going to be empty, and self-care is basically you filling back up that vessel with water. So that's kind of how I think about it, and that's why I'm so passionate about self-care, because I know that importance of self-care.
No, it's really good to hear. I think it's really important to do self-care. A lot of people may think it's cringe or corny or to even talk about it, because some people just feel like, oh, what are you talking about? But it's, especially when you're just overworked and stressed and in life, I feel like there's so many things that are going to trigger you and always happen over and over again. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody who is, let's say, having a real stressful week? Like, how can they have self-care, to really just kind of help improve their mental health?
Well, that's a funny thing that you said, someone who's like really busy, because I did have a live session with another self-care coach about, self-care on a busy schedule. And what we were talking about is that self-care isn't always just this big grandiose thing that you're doing. It's not always, all right, I'm gonna take the whole day and just like sit down and rest, or take the whole day and do this activity. I have to go to the spa, this and that. Sometimes just little things, like for someone who's stressed, a lot of people, how they express stress is different. So for some people, the stress might affect their mentals, where they get a little bit depressed. Then that now can go ahead to leading into start probably neglecting their hygiene or stuff like that. For that person, no, just doing, at least brushing their teeth once daily, at least just making the bed when they wake up, for that person is self-care. So again, it comes down to introspection. What's happening in your life? What is it that you specifically need? And how can you package that into a small little package so that you can incorporate it in your schedule? For example, just a general one too that's kind of good for anybody. It's just saying words of gratitude, just like in the morning. So probably you're brushing your teeth and just be like, okay, I'm glad that I woke up. I'm glad that I have this house. I'm glad that I'm able to keep warm. I'm glad that I'm able to have my heater on. Glad I'm able to have electricity. Just saying words and just being thankful for the little things that you probably aren't actively aware about. That's a good one as well. You might not have time to write it down. If you can write it down, that would be good. So like get a sticky note, write it down, and probably just place it on the fridge and just let that be the gratitude of the day. Just like today, I'm thankful for waking up, or today I'm thankful that I can keep warm. Stick that on the fridge, and then that would be your thing for the day. Or again, if you can't write it down, just say it. Again, you can't even do that when it comes on to, so like for especially for people like in the customer service sector. What I found, because I was in the technically, because being a pharmacist, like back in Jamaica, I was in the dispensary a lot, so I was basically in customer service. So it's like sometimes you just get really overwhelmed. So it's like almost every time, and our door did this thing, like whenever it's open, it makes this little noise. So it's like, so when a new customer is coming in, you're just like especially if you're having a crap day. So like once I hear that noise, I'm just like, all right, I'm thankful for this. So I just like say I'm thankful for something. So it's like as soon as one other customer comes in, just be like, all right, before you even deal with them, I'm thankful that I even have a job to pay the bills. I'm thankful that I'm able to probably save from the little that I get, even though it's not much pay, I can at least save, or I can at least keep myself alive for a bit. Simple things like that on a busy schedule can make the world of a difference if you incorporate it at least once per day. And again, as I say, it doesn't have to be the big old thing. It can be just as a little small action. Another thing that definitely is good is mindful eating. Mindful eating now is just cutting off distraction and just sitting and eating, just actually enjoying the food. So you're not scrolling on TikTok, you're not watching anything, you're literally just sitting there and eating and just focusing on the food, focusing on chewing the food, savoring the food, and then swallowing it. That way, listening to your body, you can know when you want to stop or if you want more, stuff like that. And that definitely would help someone if they're on a busy schedule.
I think that's really good, because when you're sharing that advice and you're telling people that it's harder to do it, it's easier to say it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think some people listening will think, well, yeah, I can do that, but how do I get the motivation just to do it? So let's say you are just like overworked from whatever situation you're doing, or you're in a bad relationship, or you're going through a tough time, or how are they able to put that into practice? That's like, it can feel for some people like another thing to do, so it's like, is it self-motivation, or is it should they ask somebody else to kind of give them the motivation to remind them and say, oh, make sure you've done this, or make sure you do that? Because sometimes it's like when you hit that level of depression, or even with somebody like me who does suffer from anxiety, like, when can you then say to somebody, okay, this is the pinpoint in your day when you should do that? Like, okay, when you are feeling anxious or whatever's triggered that, that's when you do it? Or do you just kind of list it out for people to do? Because that's where I think sometimes it gets missed. Because people can share loads of stuff, but it's like, how do you actually put it into practice? And then it goes like that. Because look, not everybody can afford therapy. So exactly, yeah. Doing self-care and, having self-care books like yours helps that. So like for example, if I don't know, like something's triggered a listener, right, and they're having an anxiety attack or they're feeling really low, is that when you would say, okay, take a moment to go outside, breathe, take deep breaths? Is that when you would say to do that? Or even if they're at home, and let's say, because sometimes social media can be a huge trigger as well. Yeah. Like, would you say, okay, when somebody gets home, instead of the first thing is to scroll on Instagram or go on TikTok or Twitter or whatever, would it be to put your phone on Do Not Disturb or leave it in another room? Because I can put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but that does nothing for me. Yeah. Like, I'm still checking and I'm like, what's the point? So for me, it's easier for me to just leave it in another room, and then I'll just leave it. I don't need to continuously go. That is me like giving self-care, where look, if I'm having an argument with somebody or I'm being anxious about somebody who I like and I'm like, oh, why haven't they text back or whatever, it's just easier for me to just leave it alone. So like, how would you advise somebody who's come to you and said, look, I hear what you're saying, but how can I actually put this into practice?
Um, um, it comes down to again two very important words that you were saying. Like you kept saying those words, and it's very important. So you kept saying for me. So like for me, this is what I do. For me, that's what I do. So again, it comes down to each person and what you realize.
Okay.
You need for yourself. So again, for someone who probably I don't have as much motivation to probably say work out or so on, that's when you'd be like, all right, I realized that I tried this week to go to the gym and every day I came up with some excuse to not go, or I just probably forgot or something. That's where you say, okay, now I need someone else. I need to go to someone. Please be my accountability partner. Go to a friend, family member or somebody. If you're staying with a roommate, get the roommate to probably come knock on your door and be like, all right, did you go to the gym today? Just to have somebody to check in. Or even if you're in a group chat, you can tell the members of that group chat, like a close friends group chat type of thing. You can tell the members of that group chat, like, all right, every day at this time I want to be going to the gym, or every day at this time I want to be doing this specific thing. So I just want you guys to check in to make sure that I've done that. And like most of the times your friends will, because they care about you as well. So and that's the thing about self-care. Self-care doesn't mean that it's only involving you. You can always have other people. And then that also comes down to when you look at social self-care. So just doing self-care activities for your social health, that is definitely where other people become very, very essential, because you're gonna need to be talking to your friends, you're gonna need to be calling people, just getting in contact with some people, probably your family, probably your friends. For example, for someone who is probably just moved to England, like me, for example, it's definitely important for you to keep in contact with your family, keep in contact with your friends that are back in Jamaica, for example. For me, it's definitely important for me, for my social and mental and emotional health as well. So it's definitely important for you to again introspect, see what you need, and then if you realize you can't do it by yourself, definitely ask someone for help. But how I normally tend to advise people to address it is, if it's an activity that involves yourself, you can try it by yourself first. If you realize that it's not working out by yourself, get someone to help you. I haven't talked about it in my book. Definitely ask people for help, because no man is an island really, and sometimes you just need help. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a one-man job. Yeah.
No, that's good. So please, guys, get help.
Get
the help.
Hashtag get help. It doesn't have to be professional. It can be your friends and family or whatever. Yeah. But I also wanted to touch on something you said earlier. How you think that it was like, you said it can be cringe to talk about self-care sometimes, and I definitely do agree. And I think it stems from just like misinformation around self-care, because a lot of people think that self-care is like this glamorous, oh, let me go get a facial, let me go to the sauna, let me go to the spa, let me get a massage type of thing, or like staying home with a mask on. Don't get me wrong, those things are self-care, can be self-care for whoever needs that or wants that, but it involves so much more than that. And as you see, it involves things that involve other people, involves things that are quite simple. It doesn't have to be anything huge or anything complex or anything expensive really, just to take care of yourself and just to say, hey, I need this, so I'm going to do this. And then if I'm trying to do it and I realize I'm not being successful, let me ask my friends to check in and just help me along the way.
I think also it's because it's that fear of what people are going to say. Perception is everything. Yeah. I mean, we're always talking about mental health these days, but it is still this huge stigma. And I think also you always have those right-wing people who are always just like, oh, it's woke, and this woke people and woke police and all that crap, what they're always saying. And so it's just like, and back in my day, you would just get on with it. Yes,
Yeah.
Of course you did. That's why people were having breakdowns and killing themselves.
And abusing their spouses.
Or staying in, it's just like when they say, I want what my grandparents have. They've been married for 50 years. Yes, they're not happy. They're not happy.
When is the last time they've spoken to you?
Exactly. Like, that is not aspirational love. Exactly. Hey, look, my view on relationships are completely different, because I feel like, for example, when it comes to relationships, I feel like you can love somebody, be with them for a season. Even if you've been with them for 30 years, that can come to an end, and that's fine, and move on. So it's like, we just live in this world where people still just attack you for trying to better yourself. Yeah. It's even... like, I wouldn't say I'm the strongest religious person, but I'm still a Christian as well, to a certain degree, because I don't agree with everything in Christianity. But it's, for example, you always see loads of stuff about the devil on TV, and that's really cool to watch. But if there's anything about God or angels or Christianity, they're like, oh no, switch that off. You know what I mean? So I'm using that as an example of just like, you're fine watching something about the devil, but you can't watch something about God or angels or anything what's pure and nice and good to you. It's always like the world and things are always rooted in so much negativity. And it's like people would rather be in that. And I think that's why a lot of people aren't happy. It's just like, I think a meme I saw the other day where it's like, sometimes what people will do is they will purposely self-sabotage themselves just to prove themselves right.
Okay.
And that's, self-care is really about actually walking in that faith, and also walking in the unknown and seeing what happens, and actually facing your fears. And so that's why I was saying that there is that stigma, and where people just view it as corny, because it's just like, it's better for people to just revel in negativity.
I'm glad you said that too, because a lot of why self-care, some self-care activities don't work out is because of self-sabotage. You're like, oh, I can't do this. I can't put down my phone and eat. I can't switch off the distractions. I can't go to the gym. I can't. And then it's like, you go to the gym because you're like, okay, fine, let me try. But then you're like, but see, I couldn't keep up and I couldn't keep it consistent. So yeah, you see, it couldn't work out. So it's like, a lot of why it doesn't work is self-sabotage.
Yeah,
so definitely.
I agree. I mean, a lot of people never used to like when I used to say this, but a lot of people always look at me and like, and the stuff I've done independently in my career, and still having full-time jobs or being a freelancer and stuff like that. And they're like, I don't understand how you do it and this and that. And I'm just like, well, there's no excuse to like why you can't do it. You can do it. Even if it takes you a year, even if it takes, like, you can do whatever you want to do. Like, we all make choices in the life that we have. Now, granted, everyone goes through different things, but if you want to make something happen, you can do it. And a lot of the time, I think sometimes I'm not embarrassed, but when I'm interviewing people on my podcast, a lot of them bring up the fact that I have done so much, and they're like, I wish I could do that, or it's amazing what you've done, or they're proud of me and stuff. And I'm like, oh, why are you saying this? I don't want people thinking, oh, I'm just having you on to, boost my ego. But people look at me and see, okay, you've done that. And I'm like, I'm grateful for it, but I just did it because I wanted to do it. And that was, at a certain point, my self-care, because I knew what I wanted to do, and that fulfilled a gap within me, which I needed to do, because I was seeing loads of other people do their stuff, and I was like, I'm jealous. I should be doing my own projects, and I should be winning awards and stuff like that. And then that hole got filled because I achieved what I wanted to do. Shut up! I didn't say anything. Listen,
I didn't say anything. You're just talking. I was here listening.
Listen, guys, Mischa is. Oh my god!
As you were saying the whole.
I don't get down like that. So anyway, so that part of me, what I thought was missing, got anyway. Fulfilled. Yeah. And then now I'm on to another part, which I'm moving on to. But then I started to realize that I was putting everything into my career, and literally everything. So that's all it was. It was just me and career. Like that. We're the same person. Like that was it.
And that's the thing where you have to kind of like self-care comes into play as well. It's just boundaries. True.
Yeah, and there was no
self-care
boundaries.
is definitely setting up boundaries for yourself, you know. Yes, and I think I really relate to you so much with that, where it's like I want to do this thing, or I see someone do something, I'm like, I want to do that, and I just do it. I find that I just don't have time for jealousy, or like I do have time for jealousy, but it expresses in a different way. Where it's like I see it and I want it, so I do it. It's like,
see,
so
I
like
never
that.
was jealous. I'm never jealous of
That's
my
the
peers.
thing. I'm not jealous. It's just like I see it, I want to do it, so just do it.
Yeah,
you know?
like it made me more driven to want to do that. I'm like, oh, I see they're killing it, and I'm happy for them. And you can be genuinely happy for somebody's success and root for somebody else. So I'm like, okay, what am I not doing? I should be working harder, and that was always what I was looking for next. And then you kind of reach a certain point where you just like, okay, enough is enough.
And I found what was happening to me after a while too was just that I just kept chasing like chasing achievements, chasing my different goals. So it's like I'll be like, okay, I want to do this thing, and I do it, and I'm like, all right, cool, next thing, let me do this other thing. I have to do this other thing, and this done, let me do this other thing. And so I hardly had time to sit and be like, wow, I'm actually doing like a lot, you know. I should be proud of myself. It's, as you were saying, when someone comes on your podcast and they were like, oh, you did this, you did that, you do so much stuff, that's when I have to kind of stop and be like, okay, I do a lot of stuff, you know. Because even for me, a huge thing that I had to like really implement was just giving myself some leeway and some time. Like when I moved to England from Jamaica, so many things got disrupted, and I had some personal project plans that I was planning, and those just got so disrupted. And I came to England, and I realized that I just wasn't making content anymore. I wasn't inspired to think up any new personal projects. I wasn't inspired to continue any personal projects that I had in the bag currently. And I was feeling so crappy. I was like, what, did I lose that spark? Did I lose that flame? And then I just had to realize I had to have a talk with myself and be like, yo, you moved from Jamaica to England by yourself. Like that in and of itself is like a huge thing. And for me, it's like I got into this frame of mind where it's like, okay, I have to have like a big thing happen each year. And I'm like, what's this year's big thing? And I was like feeling bad because I wasn't finding anything that I wanted to do that was big for myself this year. And I just sit down and I'd be like, moving from Jamaica to England, to become a medical writer, which is closer to what you wanted to do as a career rather than like, you know, dispensing in a pharmacy. That's a big thing, and that's the big thing. So just having that conversation with myself and having that acceptance of, okay, I can take some time to like not do all the things, you know, to just take some time to relax. That for me was a little bit of self-care, you know, just, and then actually accepting it and actually not doing anything, actually not feeling bad for not doing anything, again, was just self-care for me, you know. And again, that shows just the importance of introspection and just being like, what do I need, you know? What's my thing? What's my boundaries I need to set? What's my activity I need to do? Can I do it by myself? Do I need help? And funny enough, my book is actually set up in a way for you to do that, because it's kind of like it has those guided journal spaces where it's like it helps you introspect, then it helps you make a plan as to what activities you want to do, and then it helps you track your progress and help you just kind of what's the word, rate how you're doing whatever activity you chose to do. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of that book. Yeah,
you better plug that book.
yeah. As I said, The Self-Care Journey on Amazon. Yeah, if you have a link anywhere, I'll just send you the link and you can put it.
Okay. Yeah. No, but I totally understand that, because in 2020, that's how I was feeling. Like I had so much that I was supposed to do. Then obviously COVID happened, and then it pushed everything back to last year.
Yeah.
In 2021, and I did so much projects. Like I took on extra work as a freelancer while working at my full-time job at a US network, and I put a loads of pressure on myself because that freelance job that I started to do, I was working with such amazing filmmakers who were really well known in the industry. So I felt like, okay, this is a step up for me, and I also need to prove myself to them. So I put myself on a load of pressure for that. And we was working with an actor who's on Netflix, and he was on the Game of Thrones, and so it was like, okay, yeah, that was crazy, and I was able to secure that actor for the project, but eventually it ended up getting cancelled because of scheduling and stuff like that. And then I had 4 independent projects that I was doing. Either I was funding it myself or exec producing it, or is a co-production between my company as well. So it was a web series called Talia Versus, which had gone not viral, but had basically been seen in the right places as just a pilot. So then we had loads of buzz and attention from that. So it was like, okay, let's create the other episodes. I was like, cool, I'm going to do that. In the meantime of that, I also had a sci-fi film which we raised money for the year before, just before COVID hit, and then we had to push it back. And then that was going to be shot within a month of each other. Then I also signed on to another project because that had another leading actor who was quite big and is gonna blow up any day now, because he was already on a hit show called Small Axe. And I was like, okay, this is a great opportunity, and I could work with these amazing filmmakers. So then I was doing that project on top of those 2 in the middle. Then I had my own project which I'd been working on since 2018. And then, so all of that was just going on and on and on.
Yeah, that sounds
crazy.
That sounds
and
mad.
Then doing another project, which was another freelance job for another sci-fi film. And then I had like a little break. Then those 2 coincidentally ended up being shot in the same week. So then that was, listen, I spoke about. I didn't
follow now. You're about to be like, oh wow,
and that's absolutely fine, because that's how hectic it was.
Yeah, that sounds hectic.
And I've already done a story time.
Did you have time for like even yourself, or did you just like work and then just like go home and sleep?
I think, like I said, like my life was my career, so it was like, okay, that is as far as I was concerned, from when like 2015, when I was like at a job for ITV and I was feeling real like stagnant and not really enjoying it, and that moment of feeling like, okay, I was only like 23, so I don't know why I was thinking like, oh, I'm not achieving anything. I was literally working on the hit show for ITV, like, I don't know. And so from that moment where I felt like, okay, I need to make the most out of my day, that's what I kept seeing on Instagram. It was like, you got 24 hours, you got 7 days a week, you got the same 24 hours as Beyonce. And it was like, okay, what am I doing? And so I was like, go from like late 2015 right up to last year. So that was like 6 years. So essentially I was doing all that. Then I shot those 2 projects in 1 week. And I've already done a story time about that. And I was like, yeah, done. But I then saw opportunity to work with this presenter, filmmaker guy called Reggie Yates. You won't know who he is.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah. But he's been in the game for like years. And I was like, I've always wanted to work with him, and he's been on my bucket list. And I was like, let me just apply and let me just see.
Yeah, just see what happens.
Then the interview came through. I was like, sick. The week after, I shot those 2 projects in 1 week. Now, mind you, I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm going to chill. And I was like, okay. I low-key was like, I don't want this job because I'm tired. But at the same time, I'd be pissed if I don't get it. And then I got it. So I was like, Then they really put me to work.
Yeah.
But it was great because I got paid my worth.
Okay.
Let's just say that. It was very good. So it was worth it. And then I was like, cool. Yeah, I'm tired. So after having such an intense year like that, and everybody was like, oh, you're doing so much. I'm like, I'm not doing that much, okay? But it burnt me out. Like, I still have PTSD from last year because, like, I'm so tired. And it's only because, like, 2020 pushed everything into last year. So this year, for example, has been me trying to find that self-care. So, like, that's why I've quit independent film in terms of like doing it myself. Doesn't mean I'm not doing film, but it's about me rediscovering my purpose and what I actually want to do and where I can get to where I want to be within my career. there's loads of great things what's have happened to projects I've exec produced, and they've gone on to a life of its own, and we're in really good spaces to, hopefully get to TV. So it's now I'm in that space where how do I find my own self-care journey as well, but also trying to understand what I want to do with my life outside of film, because there was no separation. There was no separation. It was all my friends were all in the industry. Literally, we'd have meetings and then hang out afterwards. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like...
so it's kind of like one and the same.
One and the same. So it's like this year has been me trying to find that self-care journey. So stumbling across all you guys, this group of friends that we have, has been good for me, because it's a separate thing in terms of like, oh, cool, we're going to meet just to meet and hang out. Most of my time is like, we're having meetings, or we're going to do this, or even if we aren't going to hang out as friends, we're talking about the industry. We're talking about what we like, what we don't like. Like, literally trying to, like, not saying it's a bad thing, because some people say, like, well, what's wrong with that? I'm like, yes, but when you've had nothing else besides that, like all your friends are the same,
you need a separation.
You need separation. So now that's what I want to do more of, and leaning into 2023 I need to be traveling more, because I haven't left the country since 2019, which upsets me. And so that's why I want you on the show, just to hear more so about what you meant about self-care, because it's so easy to say it, but it's like, how do you do it? And then it's also about learning what is good for you, like what you were saying. Exactly, so that's what I'm still figuring out. I mean, listen, I don't have the budget or the money for traveling, which is self-care for me. I'm broke with expensive taste. I get you. So that's how, I guess, that's the journey I'm on. So hopefully some people can relate to what I've said as well.
I think I'd give you a copy of my book. I think I have like a random copy.
I want a physical copy, not ebook.
No, physical copy. Yeah. So I'd give you that. I think I have a random copy lying around. It might be in my bag. Yeah, I think it's in my bag.
So wait a minute. So you just go around just walking.
It's my work bag to be. So
you're trying to plug it at your job as well?
It was actually, but
somebody's trying to get a publisher deal over here.
But I mean, no, because at work I was trying to get into the well-being space, so like trying to help them well-being. So I was, that would be a part of it too, just like show them my books, to be like, if you guys are interested, you guys can distribute the book across the company and so on. So that is a goal of mine as well. But when things calm down in the agency right now, because it's Christmas, so you know what that is in this agency. So when things calm down, but I think I do have a copy, so I'll definitely give you one. It would be good. It's very good for you to definitely use it to introspect and to just be like, where in my life is going up in flames, or not even going up in flames, but like these charred, or just like needs some repairing and just, or even maintenance and so on. And then when you figure out those places, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna do it? And then whilst maybe if you actually get to doing it, then how is that going, and how can you make it better? How can you stick to it more? So on.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense, because it's about always trying to find yourself as you get older. That's why I enjoy getting older, because you understand more about yourself and who you are. A lot of people are always afraid of getting older. I'm old. Look, I'm 30. I'm fine being 30. I like it because each year I'm getting more comfortable with myself. I'm figuring out who I am, what I like, what I don't like, what I'm going to entertain. And once you've learned through previous experiences, you know how to deal with things even more. Like a toxic trait for me, for example, is I've attracted the wrong type of people in my life, whether it's love life, friendship, and there's always a specific pattern of these type of people. And I'm like, interesting. Like, I'm just like, okay, so what is it? Like, what is it? And it's about me trying to figure out and looking at early signs to think, okay, where to go with this person in terms of like cutting it off or keeping them at bay, so it's little things like that. And to me, that's self-care, because I'm making sure that in the future, I don't have future hurt.
There you go.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's like, and that's what I like about growth and stuff like that. Therapy, if you can get therapy, prayer
Definitely
works.
if you can get therapy. Yeah. Prayer. Yeah. As you said. As I said, I should say, yeah, for your spiritual self care, because that's definitely a part of self care as well. You know, keep getting in touch with your spiritual side, and that doesn't mean religious. By the way, spiritual and religious doesn't have to be the same thing. Can mean the same thing depending on who you are, depending on what you want. But yeah, depending on where you are spiritually, prayer can definitely help.
So, what else are you going to be doing to expand your self care brand?
My self-care brand. Yes. Well, right now, as you know, I have a series going where it's like every Sunday, you know, self-care Sunday. I release a little video, just be like, you know, what self-care can be. So I'm trying to keep it more, like, as I said, simple. So just, you know, little videos, just showing you what self-care can look like, you know, trying not to hit too hard on the mask, what self-care, you know, if you type self-care tips on TikTok, you know what you're gonna find. you know what you're gonna find. So I'm trying to steer away from what self-care is. Kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
I think you're looking for is in terms of like the generic self-care.
Yeah, it's trying to steer away from like the generic thing, trying to show what it can also look like. You know, so far I've done mindful eating. It's just literally simple: sit down and eat. So far resting when you're sick as well. Going out for a walk, just a little walk. You know, you don't have to do too much. So that's what I'm doing so far. Also looking to just speak more, because a lot of my speaking engagements that I get, I try to push self-care as much as I can. Yeah. So for speaking engagements coming up, I definitely doing self-care. That's what I market myself on. If anyone approaches me to speak, I say, okay, I'm definitely going to be speaking on self-care. That's basically more of what I'm doing. I might be looking again into probably starting another book. I'm not sure, but you know, we'll see. But yeah, so far that's what I'm working on for my self-care brand.
Good, because I just like that what you're doing about with self-care branding, because you did emphasize on the keyword, which is what works for you. So it's like a lot of these self-care tips people share online, it's always the same thing. And there has to be better things for you. Like now that I'm talking to you and I'm thinking about what I do for my self-care, like I go for walks. Now, yes, that might be very generic, but I go for long walks. Like when I say long walks, like I'll walk for an hour. Like I will listen to music and or listen to a podcast, like, you know, and it is very therapeutic for me.
Are you listening to your own podcast while you walk, Kashif?
I'm not like you, okay?
Because, not like me.
Because I'm not vain like you.
I'm not watching my videos.
I'm not vain like you, so I don't do things like that. Okay, so no. You know, like that self-care for me, like, and I didn't realize that was self-care for me because it helps clear my head. Like, I will just walk for hours. Like that's probably why people say I'm so slim, because I just walk everywhere. Like anywhere I go, even if I can get the bus or train, I would just be thinking about walking there. So yeah, that's a big one for me actually. So there's so many things what people can do, like anything what you really enjoy doing by yourself what kind of just secludes you from everyone else. That's
and then
you should start
even
off
that
with,
for some people seclusion is that a word? I don't know, I'm using it though. Seclusion, or just secluding themselves can be a big part of self-care, because I know sometimes I'm ambiverted, so it's like sometimes I just really like being around people, but again sometimes I just need to be by myself. Like I need to, if I'm not by myself I'm gonna start getting cranky and I'm gonna start getting miserable. So it's like I need to be by myself sometimes. But again, for someone else it might be like I need to be around friends, I need to be around people, you know, I need to at least go out, talk to a stranger. Again, it just comes down to self-care being personalized.
I agree. So where can people find your self-care videos and your book again?
Okay. So if you want to get more information about self-care, you can follow me on Instagram. It's MDC_RX. So that's M as in Mary, D as in dog, C as in Charlie _RX. It's same thing on TikTok too. So both of them at MDC_RX. Talk about self-care on both of those platforms. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn as well. Mischa Christie, MISCHACHRSTIE. And my book, The Self-Care Journey, is available on Amazon KDP, or well, Amazon. So just type in The Self-Care Journey on Amazon and look for by Mischa Christie, and that's the one. Should be a blue book. Cute little book.
Nice. Nice. Well, thanks again, Mischa, for coming on the show again.
Yeah, sure,
I'm sure you're going to be back again to talk about more things.
Of course.
So yeah, as usual, guys, you can follow me all on my usual socials. You know them. There's a bunch of them. And stay tuned for the episodes coming soon.
Bye.